Welcome back to A World Gone Mad. The only place where you don't need night vision goggles to see the insanity, it's right there, lit up like neon in a casino. A sign that reads, "Abandon hope, democracy ends here." It sounds like the Pirates of the Caribbean right at Disney World. Every headline is another brick through the windshield. Every breaking news alert is just the same gang of grifters breaking America into smaller and smaller pieces. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf, and it's WTF Wednesday, a day I don't tiptoe, I don't whisper, I don't pretend. I slam the mic down, call it what it is, a circus of cowards, liars, self-appointed patriots who love this country the same way an arsonist loves a matchbook. I don't do the mainstream media paint job. I strip it down, show you what's underneath the hood. No spin, no corporate polish, no talking point fluff. Just the truth and the rot hiding beneath the surface. Okay, here we go. WTF Wednesday. What the fuck are they doing to us now? Trump decided that the best way to show strength this week was to send the Texas National Guard into Illinois. Because when you're run out of ideas, you just start moving troops around like chess pieces on cable news. Forget diplomacy, forget coordination. Trump's treating the National Guard like DoorDash for drama. Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Johnson told Donald to knock it off. They said exactly what any sane leader would say. Get those troops the hell out of our state. And what did the president do? He threw a tantrum and said Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson should be in jail. That's right, jail, for disagreeing with Donny Boy. We've hit a new American milestone, listeners. The president now treats disagreement like treason and outrage like oxygen. Donald can't handle pushback without threatening handcuffs. It's not law and order. It's law and ego. Now, the president wants to look like a strongman, but every move screams panic. Every insult, every all-caps post, every press conference rant is just a live-streamed anxiety attack with Secret Service lighting. The same man who accuses Democrats of weaponizing the Justice Department is literally threatening elected officials for telling him no. Projection has become policy. Illinois didn't blink. They filed a lawsuit to block this deployment. So now we've got democracy suing bravado. State versus federal. Reality versus the campaign rally happening in Trump's head. Soldiers standing around waiting for orders that may not even be legal, while the rest of the country wonders what the hell this show is supposed to be. There's a little document called the Posse Comitatus Act. It says you can't use the military for domestic policing. The president treats that law like the terms and conditions on an iPhone update. Scroll, click, ignore. So here we are. Donald Trump thinks power is theater. He drags the National Guard into his personal war on criticism. He confuses force with respect and fear with loyalty. Donald Trump isn't leading. Donald Trump is performing. The stage lights are hot, the script is collapsing, and the audience is starting to realize the show they bought tickets for isn't entertainment, it's a warning. It's also exposing just how far Donald's mentality has slipped. Logic is dissolving day by day and minute by minute. There's something clearly wrong with Donald Trump. And at this point, the 25th Amendment should be on the table. James Comey walked into court, pleaded not guilty to charges that he lied to Congress. Let's start right there. The same Justice Department that ignored a mountain of corruption, grift, and obstruction from the people currently in power suddenly find its moral compass pointing directly at a man who investigated Donald Trump. What a coincidence! This isn't justice. It's revenge with a badge. The president has spent years screaming that the system was rigged against him. And now he's showing America what it looks like when you actually rig the system. The case itself is a joke. They're trying to criminalize testimony from years ago that the Inspector General already reviewed. Comey wasn't indicted when the facts were fresh, when the evidence mattered, when anyone could even remember what the hell was said. But now, years later, when Trump is back in charge, suddenly it's time for handcuffs. The timing isn't suspicious. It's practically flashing a neon sign that says, political hit job, next exit. Let's talk about the message this sends. The DOJ just announced that if you investigate Trump, your career isn't over, your freedom might be. That's not accountability. That's intimidation dressed as law. It's a warning shot to every prosecutor, every agent, every official, whoever thought about standing up to Trump. Don't do it, or you'll end up next to Comey in a courtroom while the cameras roll. The president calls it justice. His supporters call it payback. But this isn't Law and Order. It's a show trial written by a man who thinks the courts are just another TV set where he gets to yell, "You're fired." And you could feel the chill this puts through the system. Judges start hesitating. Investigators start tiptoeing. Because once you criminalize oversight, once you make truth a liability, you don't just break the system, you melt it. This isn't about one case. It's about fear. A man obsessed with loyalty now has a Justice Department acting like a mob crew cleaning up old business. And if you think it stops at Comey, you haven't been paying attention. Because this isn't justice being done. It's justice being erased. The Trump administration just floated the idea of refusing back pay to furloughed federal workers during the shutdown. Think about that. Hundreds of thousands of people are sitting at home without pay because the government can't get its act together. And the solution from Donald is basically, you might never see that money. It's cruelty dressed as budgeting. The administration is saying the quiet part out loud. They don't believe in public service unless it serves them. The same president who spent years bragging about being a champion for the working class now wants to punish the very people keeping our country running. This isn't some minor detail in a spreadsheet. These are park rangers, food inspectors, airport security, single parents trying to pay rent, veterans relying on that paycheck to buy groceries. These people aren't political pawns, but that's exactly what they're being turned into. And here's the moral trap. The administration is daring Congress to fight back if Democrats demand pay for the workers. Trump will spin it as wasteful spending if they stay quiet. Trump gets away with economic extortion. Either way, the workers lose. That is hostage negotiation with a flag backdrop. Now, the hypocrisy could power its own grid. The same crowd that preached about law and order, jobs, and loyalty to the country is now fine with freezing out the very people who actually make the country work. The Republicans call it fiscal responsibility, that it's really about punishment. Punishing anyone who doesn't fit their version of obedience. And politically, this is poison disguised as principle. No one who lives paycheck to paycheck buys the idea that, stiffing workers is patriotic. The only people cheering this one are the same ones who think empathy is a weakness and cruelty a brand. What this really says is that the administration has run out of ideas. They can't solve the shutdown. So they're turning pain into policy. They're proving once again that when government breaks, they don't fix it. They sell tickets to the wreckage. So when you hear the talking heads call this a bold fiscal stance, remember what it really is. It's an insult to the people who serve. It's proof that this administration doesn't just ignore the working class. It uses them as props until the cameras turn off and the bills come due. Only in America can a man who once bragged about bombing countries now call himself a peace broker. Trump has decided that he, of all people, is the key to ending the Gaza war. A scene is Cairo, where ceasefire talks are underway, and Trump is shoving his way into the spotlight again, saying he can make it happen faster than anyone else. Egypt is hosting the meetings. Israel and Hamas are both under pressure. The White House is trying to look like the adult in the room, while the president is out there auditioning for a Nobel Prize. Let's be clear. These negotiations exist because the region is on the edge of collapse. Civilians are trapped. Supplies are low, and the violence has created one of the worst humanitarian disasters in decades. But while diplomats are working around the clock, Trump is treating it like campaign season in a war zone. He is talking about how only he can end it, how he can bring peace to the Middle East once and for all. That line has been used by every president since Eisenhower. And every time, the results are the same. More rubble, more grief, and another press conference claiming progress. Here's what is actually going on. The talks in Cairo are fragile. Egyptian and Qatari mediators are struggling to get both sides to agree on the most basic conditions. Israel wants the hostages back and guarantees against Hamas regrouping. Hamas wants an end to airstrikes and blockades. Now, the United States says it supports the process, but has already been criticized for giving Israel too much leverage. Into that chaos walks Trump, bragging about speed and deals as if peace is something you could close with a handshake and a selfie. And now, incredibly, some of Trump's supporters, get ready, are floating the idea that Trump should win the Nobel Peace Prize if a ceasefire is reached. That is not a joke. That is being said with straight faces on television. The Nobel Peace Prize. The same man who spent years tearing up alliances, mocking world leaders, and threatening to bomb adversaries like they have never been bombed before, is now being held up as a potential Nobel candidate. If irony were a country, it would need its own ceasefire. This is not diplomacy. It is delusion on camera. Real negotiators are bleeding for every inch of progress while the president tries to steal credit from the sidelines. The Nobel talk is not just disgusting, it is an insult to every person who has died waiting for actual peace. And if this is what passes for leadership now, then we are no longer dealing with politics. We are dealing with theater in the middle of a graveyard. Now, if you heard my previous episode about the guardrails, about whether the Supreme Court would or could stop Trump, you already know where this is heading. And if you haven't heard that episode, you should. Back then, I said the guardrails were bending. Now they are snapping like cheap plastic. We just watched a president threaten governors with jail for disagreeing with him. We watched the Justice Department turned into a stage prop for revenge. We watched federal workers used as pawns, told they might not ever get paid. And now we are watching the same man strut around Cairo pretending he is a peace broker while his own country, America, burns from the inside out. This is not strength. It is not strategy. It is deterioration in real time. You can almost hear the screws coming loose from Donald. Every hour, every post, every tantrum feels more unhinged than the last. The filter is gone. The restraint is gone. The little voice in Trump's head that used to whisper, maybe don't say that out loud, Donald, packed up and left years ago. And here's the scary part, Wolfpack listeners. Everyone knows it. Republicans know it. The cabinet knows it. The country knows it. But no one wants to be the one to say the quiet truth out loud. The man, Donald Trump, is not well. This is not about policy anymore. It is about stability, sanity, and survival. The 25th Amendment was written for moments like this, when a president becomes a danger, not just to the office, but to the nation. The problem is the people who could invoke it are too terrified of losing power to even use it. MAGA Republicans and Trump supporters would rather watch the country get destroyed from the inside and explode than admit that the leader of the free world is fucking insane and needs to be put away for the rest of his life. So if the Congress and the Supreme Court cannot stop Donald, then the 25th Amendment has to. Donald Trump is unwell. He shows no empathy, no reasoning, no logic. Every action by Trump looks like random synapses firing with real-world damage. This is not a petty attack from me. It is an observation based on what Trump does every hour of every day. Use the 25th Amendment rule now or accept the collapse. Because the collapse has already started. The only question left is how much of the country goes down with Donald. This has been A World Gone Mad, Wednesday's WTF edition. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. I'll be back Friday because someone has to say the shit that no one else will, and apparently that job's mine. Until then, Wolfpack listeners, stay skeptical, stay focused, and most of all, stay hopeful.